ladies, how you all doing? I am doing well, my peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is on anxiety, how I overcame anxiety. Trust me, my past, I was very anxious while a lot of things were going on in my life. But like I said, I like to live in the present moment. What is going on now that I can share with you, and how I overcame anxiety, and now I am stress-free and I am serene and I am calm. Here are some of my suggestions. This video is not intended to diagnose anyone with anxiety or depression. It is not intended to treat anyone with anxiety or depression. It is intended to help you. Some of the ways and my wisdom and my strategies that I use to overcome depression and also anxiety. So let's start, shall we? So the first question that you might ask is, why do we get anxious? Why do we get fearful? If you're going to summarize it all, I believe that most anxiety or fear stem from the fear of death. And the fear of death does not only mean the death of you, it can be a death of a goal, death of a relationship, a death of a family member. Sometimes it's the death of our physical appearance, the physiological changes that is occurring within our bodies. Old age can make people very anxious and very fearful. Also, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of not being loved, or the feeling of a death of everything, you name it. As long as it ends, humans are prone to have that fear of the unknown, and we tend to have this anxiety and this feeling of worrying and worrisome and anxious and fearful because we're always afraid of the death of something. Internally, we build up this fear and this anxiety within us, and it manifests itself in the physical form and also in the mental realm of your life. So you see, people who are anxious and depressed are always afraid of the future, the next month, the next week, the next day, the next minute, even the next seconds, because we are just afraid of what the future holds. We're always asking the question, what if, what will happen in the next minute or in the next second? We're always afraid of that. So the way I handled my anxiety in the past was I asked myself, what am I afraid of? What is there that I am afraid of, that I am worrying about and anxious about? And for me, usually writing is my favorite thing to do. So instead of thinking all these things in my head, I tend to have a book and a pen, right? And I jot down things and I put everything out of my mind and I put it on a piece of paper. This way I'm able to observe my feelings in my head from the external. I can look at it on a piece of paper and able to tackle it that way. And usually for me, it works that way, by journaling, by writing. Now, as you're writing, you do not want to involve in the emotions. All you're doing is just transferring information from one place to another that is from your mind to a piece of paper. That's the first step I did. So as I wrote all these information on paper, I dove deep into the rooted problem. What is making me anxious? Why am I anxious? I asked those questions and I was very honest with myself. So with me is that when I'm writing, I tend to be very honest with myself and I write everything down. I make sure that I am spilling everything on paper because it is all within myself. Nobody's there to judge me. Nobody is around to criticize me. So it's just between myself and I. So I put everything on paper, and that way it helps me look at it from a different perspective. And as I put everything on paper, the answer came very clearly that for me, I was dwelling into my future a lot. I was projecting into the future and always asking the question, what if this happened? What if that happened? What is the next thing? So all that build up information in my mind was driving me anxious, was making me feel fearful and worrisome. And another thing is that you're thinking about the future, and then you start to ask yourself, oh, what had happened to me in the past, right, might happen in the future. It's either the past for anxiety or the future for anxiety. So both anxiety and depression are very similar in a way. They go hand in hand, right? The symptoms are different, but they usually tend to go hand in hand, like brothers and sisters. So I realized that I was worrying about the future, and also because whatever happened to me in the past might happen again in the future. So that exacerbated my anxiety and made me very, very, very anxious. But I will tell you how I treated it. We already know by now on this channel, if you're new here, if you watch other videos, you will hear that I personally live in the present moment. I don't believe in the past. I don't believe in the future. It's always the now, because whatever happened in the past, it presents itself in the present moment, and whatever you are hoping for the future, it always presents itself in the present moment. So I encourage you all to really live in the present moment and really live in the now, and try to exercise this in your daily routine. So one way that I live in the present moment is, for example, in the morning when I wake up, I do not think of the future, the next second or the next minute. I don't worry about work. I stay within myself. The simple task of brushing my teeth, I make sure that I am into the brushing of the teeth. Make sure that I'm enjoying the process of brushing my teeth and not worried about anything outside of brushing my teeth. So I dwell on that activity, and I surrender everything within me to the brushing of my teeth. So that way I'm not worried about the emails, I'm not worried about what is the next thing to be done, and I'm not worried about even what was said right before I started brushing my teeth. I am just in the moment of brushing my teeth, and I tend to enjoy every task that I'm doing, and every task that I'm doing becomes very simpler and easier because I'm not worrying, and I'm not thinking, because the now, when we ask the question, what is going on now, the answer is always nothing. The present moment is the most peaceful moment. It is the most reality really to try to incorporate. And I also always tell myself that my past is my past. My past is no longer in my present moment. So that helped my anxiety, because whatever happened to me in the past is no longer happening in my present moment. Whoever I perceive as they hurt me in the past, they're not hurting me in the present moment. The present moment is perfect. So by eliminating my past and focusing on my present moment, my anxiety started to go down and completely eliminated. Very rarely would I get anxious of anything. I just train my mind to just focus on the now. And if you try to incorporate this aspect of your life, you will see that there's not a lot of things that you should be worried about or you should even feel anxious about, because there's nothing to be anxious about. So an exercise that I do when I start to feel the feeling of, maybe mild anxiety or feeling shaky, I remind myself that I am alive, I am happy, I am joyful, I am serene. I tell these things to myself. I believe in these things that I'm telling myself. I believe in the affirmations. I try to create a feeling of all these affirmations I'm telling myself, because when I do that, I tend to relax and not anxious and worry about anything. So if you have a financial problem that you might be worrying about, look at it this way. Right now, today, not the end of the month where the bills are supposed to be paid. Right now, as we stand, what is going on? It's usually I am fine, I am healthy, I am breathing, I am perfect, everything is going well. Then if you believe that and you let go and you surrender your problem to the higher self, then by the time of the end of the month, something happens that takes care of the problem. So by living in the present moment, your anxiety tends to go away or completely eliminate itself. So when it comes to YouTube, I am standing right in front of you all and I'm talking, and I'm enjoying the process of talking to you. And I'm sure you guys are enjoying the process of listening to me. So because of that, I do not worry about the views. I do not worry about who's subscribed or who's not subscribing. I do not worry about, the likes or the dislikes. I am not worried about those things. I am just sitting here and enjoying the present moment. And after I publish it, whatever comes out of it, that is outside of my control. So because it's outside of my control, I don't worry about it. I just just let it be, and hey, it is what it is. So if you have that kind of mentality, then you tend to see that your anxiety will get better as you practice these strategies. So we are also told that to seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the cherisher of mankind, the king of mankind, that he is God. He is eternal, absolute, and he is capable of doing everything for us without us stressing about it. So in the spiritual realm of existence, you want to have faith. You want to develop faith in God and faith in yourself, because man's confidence in himself is measured by his confidence in God. So keep that in mind, that spirituality is a very, very important aspect of a way to help with anxiety. At least that's what I do. And now by believing in this, my anxiety is non-existent. So believe that fear is the opposite of faith, right? So if you're fearful, then your faith is lacking, or your faith is not to par. And you realize that when we're usually worried or anxious or fearful, in most cases we have isolated ourselves from God, or from the infinite spirit, from the universal superconscious mind, who is also the creator of the universe and the earth, right? And we develop this distorted imagination that our problems are too difficult for God, who is also the creator of the heavens and the earth. It's difficult for God. And the sooner we have that mentality in our heads, then we start to fight, and our ego jumps into place and start to doubt that God even existed, or God can even take care of our problems. We start to engage our minds in the idea of lack and limitation, disease and poverty, and I gotta have this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And then you completely detach yourself from the creator of your life, and also the creator of the heavens and the earth, who can do the impossible possible. With him, everything is possible by him. And if we as man, we move away from that ideology, or we move away from that faith, then we are in a deep trouble. So how do we get in deep trouble? Because as you start to detach yourself from the creator, then what happens is that you see yourself very small in this vast universe. You see yourself helpless, right? And then you start to feel helpless. And then we dwell on the idea that our physical actions and our physical capabilities are able to solve our problems. But the thing is that as we are doing all this physicality that we think we can accomplish things, the moment we fail, or the moment we feel like we couldn't accomplish our desires and our goals based on what we're thinking, then you start to feel, okay, because I didn't achieve this, then you believe in yourself that you're a failure. And by believing in your failure, then you affirm to yourself really that there's nothing you can do that's successful. And then you start to believe in lack and limitation. You start to believe in all these feelings that in actuality, if you would have just let go and let God in, if you would have just relaxed, right, and you leave all your actions to God, then all these things come to you at a very easy way. They present themselves to you without much of an effort, because the infinite spirit is always there to help us. It's always there to transcend us and to transform us, to make us bigger and bigger. Because one day we're all becoming. That's what human beings are. Human is becoming. Being is that magnificent being. So we are all trying or becoming this magnificent being. So at the end of the day, we are all going to be that. So the silent dweller in you, the power and the grace of God in you, wants you to succeed. But by you succeeding, really, we have to surrender. We have to let go of the ego and then let God in. And if you do that, a lot of your problems will be solved at ease with no problem and no headaches. So in the physical realm of anxiety, this is the way I would suggest you. So if you have any type of fear or phobias, like for example, you're afraid of snakes or you're afraid of flying, here is some suggestions that I will suggest to you so you can try it. Slowly face your fear. Do not suppress them, right? Do not ignore them, and do not think that, oh my goodness, and live in fear and live in anxiety and also live in an anxious world. Don't do that. Try to face your fear. Slowly but surely you will get to the bottom of it, and you start to feel comfortable when you face your fear, because usually what we're fearful of, if you face them, they're harmless. They really do not hurt you. It's all a distorted imagination in your mind. But if you start to retrain the mind and retrain your brain that these things are harmless, they're okay, then eventually you will be comfortable with the things that you're fearful of. With anxiety, please have faith in God, and please exercise your imagination to overcome anxiety. It is doable. Let go of the ego and just let God in, and you will see it. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. Peace be upon you and God Almighty's blessings.